during the break.
What's interesting?
I'm going to tell you. What I like to do is I like to reveal, take the viewer behind the curtain, the listener behind the curtain.
Baseball.
I mean, I know people see me and they see me like, oh, that guy's really put together, and the show is so fancy, and just how slick. But it's not always super smooth behind the scenes. And I just want everyone to know that I'm currently during the commercial breaks. I'm fighting with my producers about peacocky.
Yeah. It's true.
About my drunk peacock costume and cousin costume. Anyway, I just want you guys to know. You think it's all harmonious, and it's not. Not everyone's on board with what I believe to be the best idea of the 2022 football season.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I just want everyone to know.
Yeah. Producer Stephen wants you to know it was more of a tiff than an actual, an acrimonious fight.
I'm just saying there has not been unanimous support yet, and yet just mark my words. Go ahead and clip this off. When he debuts, he's going to be a massive hit. Okay. I don't know how and when everyone's going to love him. He's going to love him, and I cannot wait for the Universal Kids movie about peacocky.
Yeah.
There's going to be like lessons learned, like about jealousy about your brother and everything like that. No, I got a whole plan. Don't you worry about it.
One of your stranger sides.
None of you animals out there steal my drunk peacock idea.
Yeah. None of you animals. All right.
That's right.
Let's talk about Christian Kirk.
If a drunk peacock shows up on Sims Unbuttoned, I'm going to lose it. I'm just saying that right now.
All right. I'll text Cris. I'll say, keep your hands off
keep
our
your
drunk
grubby
peacock.
hands.
Yeah. I know you want this, Chris Sims.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. What
Christian
do you want to talk
Kirk.
Sure.
Let's talk about Christian Kirk.
We already talked about him. Look, we already talked about the matchup here against the Titans, right? They allow the most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. They give the 5th most receptions per game to the slot, which is obviously where Kirk lines up. And Kirk's now had 5 straight games with a target share of 24% or better. My expectation here is they're not going to be able to run on Tennessee. They will have to throw, whatever run is. They will have to throw. So Christian Kirk, former Texas A&M Aggie, gig 'em. Aggies did not make a bowl game this year, but Christian Kirk continues to play, and I think he'll play in the playoffs this year, in the fantasy playoffs, that is. And as you see it there on your screen, just, Trevor Lawrence, who we expect to play, looks for him early and often. I'm as a top 13 play this week, Christian Kirk.
Yeah, Christian Kirk going against the defense that allowed the Philadelphia Eagles to light them up, and Devonta Smith against the Giants, which is basically an equally friendly matchup, is on the love list.
He is. You know what I mean? It's interesting. If you look at his usage, especially since Dallas Goedert went down, it's been massive. He now has 4 straight games with 8 or more targets. Last 4 weeks, these Giants, the New York Giants, are allowing the 3rd most yards per game to perimeter wide receivers. I mean, McLaurin had a huge game against them. Jahan Dotson last week had the big play as well. Dory Jackson has missed the last 2 games. Looks at the moment unlikely to play as well. That's a hit to that secondary. It certainly has been for New York. So Devonta Smith, I think he's a top 20 play this week.
Yep, I like that look on Deontay Smith. Now, revenge game stock.
Devonta Smith.
Devonta?
Yeah, not Deontay.
I said,
You said Deontay like Deontay Johnson.
I'm so confused about the name because everyone says Devonta or Devontae, and
I believe it's Devontae, but I don't know that I've never met the man, so and a lot of times when there's mispronunciation about players, they will, NFL players will often not correct the media or whatever. They're just like, and I remember the most famous one is Alvin Kamara, and they were like, well, is it Alvin Kamara or Alvin Kamara? It's just like, both are fine.
Whatever.
He literally said, my mom calls me one, but, in college everyone calls me, and so I believe it is Kamara, but I've heard Kamara. Who knows?
Easier if everyone's just called Mike White.
Fair enough.
Uniform.
Anyway, I think it's Devonta Smith.
Yep.
Anyway, but either way, D. Smith for the Eagles.
Yeah, he's going to go off. Now,
we like him.
Revenge game stock as a product. Stock is soaring at the moment after what A.J. Brown did to the Titans. Revenge game coming up for T.J. Hockenson going up against the Detroit Lions.
It's interesting that since the Vikings traded for T.J. Hockenson, they're 4-1.
Yeah.
Since the Lions traded away T.J. Hockenson, they're 4-1.
Yeah.
It's clear that if you want to turn your season around, just have some sort of a transaction involving T.J. Hockenson. It is a revenge game as T.J. Hockenson comes back to Detroit to face his former team, and I think he'll have success here. I mean, Lions do allow the 5th highest catch rate to opposing tight ends. The 6th highest catch rate to opposing tight ends. They're tied for the 2nd most touchdowns allowed to opposing tight ends. And Hockenson, who has multiple red zone targets in 3 of the last 5 games with the Minnesota Vikings, in a game in which, as we've talked about, has one of the highest over-unders on this slate in Week 14, I'm as my number 3 tight end, only after Kelsey and Andrews.
Yep, it's going to be a very high-scoring game. Total is sailing over 50 there.
I want as much of that game as I can get, which leads us into others receiving votes.
Sure.
And Adam Thielen.
Wow, you're man.
Look at me.
Didn't you close it out on Adam Thielen yesterday?
Lawrence did. Lawrence did. I kept it open.
Okay, but you're both
Thanks for watching the show.
Negative. Yeah, okay.
Look, the fact of the matter is, Lawrence was more negative. No. I mentioned the fact that Adam Thielen,
wide receiver 28. That range.
I'm at 25.
Okay.
But I'm keeping. If there was ever a week to use Adam Thielen, I think this is it. Again, Lions have allowed 75 yards to multiple wide receivers in the same game 4 different times this year. You know Jefferson's going to get his, but I do think Thielen, who had a 6 for 61 and a touchdown game against these same Lions in Week 3, I believe he's usable. DJ Shark makes the list as well. He's now had 5 or more targets in 4 of his last 5 healthy games so far this season. Again, talking about that game, the Vikings-Lions won as much as I can. Shark should be usable against a Vikings team that allows the most yards per game to wide receivers. Nico Collins, Brandon Cooks didn't practice yesterday. They're 16.5-point underdogs. Should be some junk time for Nico Collins. And how about Hunter Henry? Start your tight ends against the Arizona Cardinals. No team in the NFL. There's not one. You couldn't find a team in the NFL, Jay Croucher, that has allowed more receptions, more yards, or touchdowns to opposing tight ends this season. And so Henry, who's run a route on 76% of Mac Jones's dropbacks over the last 2 weeks, I think he's a viable streamer this week.
Yep, stats for Henry would look a lot better if he'd given that touchdown on Thanksgiving.
Caught that. By the way, that was a touchdown.
Yep, hated that call.
Des
Let's talk about pass
Henry
catches that
it.
You hate. Gabe Davis, who has not done much lately.
Going against your Jets here. I mean, again, it's always nerve-wracking to put him on the hate list because all he needs is one play. And, my attitude all year long on Gabe Davis has been you either have to start him every week or bench him every week. I will say, though, he makes the hate list because in a week in which 6 teams are on a bye, I'm not as optimistic about Gabe Davis as I have been in previous weeks. It's certainly been, not great for Gabe Davis. We talked about the last game. They missed on a couple of connections here, but look, 49% of Gabe Davis' targets this year have come on deep passes. That's how they use him in this offense. They really like to take deep shots for him. Well, the Jets allow the lowest completion rate on deep passes. They defend the deep pass really, really well. My expectation is that they will do that again on Sunday. And so the Jets, who give up the 3rd fewest fantasy points to opposing wide receivers, this is a tough matchup for Gabe Davis. He comes in at wide receiver 30. Juju Smith-Schuster also on the hate list. Under 40 yards and 5 targets in both games since he returned from the concussion. We talked about him yesterday on the show. Broncos allow the 2nd fewest yards per game to wide receivers. They're also really good against the slot recently as well. So Juju Smith-Schuster makes the hate list outside my top 25.
Sorry, Juju. That's all right. We're going to go to break. When we come back, quarterback love-hate, including Jared Goff, our good friend, Mr. Goff.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.